Happy Groovy Tuesday. Hopefully we've got some people in the room. I know I'm a little bit early to the party. So I shall have a sip of coffee whilst, if anybody wants to join me today. Oh, it's very hot. Is anybody there today? Can I see anybody? I can see some numbers creeping up just on the side. So hopefully I'll get the all clear from Gilly in a moment that you can hear me nice and clearly. What will today bring? Oh, wow, we've got loads planned for today. So just wait for the signal from Gilly. We'll wait for the, good morning, lovely Linda Williams, skiving off of doing her homework. The lovely Karen, good morning, good morning. Here you'll come, Glynis, Jill, Catherine. Good morning, ladies, one and all. Josie, it's like a design team meeting. And yep, all clear from Gilly. Thank you, Gilly. Gilly's in the room. So if you need any help or you've got any questions, then ask away. Did I make you chuckle, Mrs. Williams? Oh dear, I bet you're sitting there twiddling your thumbs thinking, now what can I do during this school recess from the Pergamano Summer School? Not. How are we all doing today? Have we all had a good bank holiday? If in the UK we had a bank holiday, I think there was one in Scotland. I think it was just England, Wales and Northern Ireland, I think, this weekend. So lovely to see so many lovely names popping up on there. So yeah, I know I'm always, it's dead on 10 o'clock. I will say it again for those of you that are just arriving. Good morning and happy Groovy Tuesday. So we're going to have a nice chilled session. We're going to go back to basics with our lovely Pico cutting. And I think over the past few weeks, it's been interesting. While we're having a little sort of break from the Pergamano Summer School, I think it's been nice to sort of just go back and revisit different things. So we've covered colouring in with the pencils, and we looked at different ways of using the Pergaliner pencils, where we went direct to the parchment, and we then went from the mixing mat to apply. We also then last week we was using the Perga colour pens, and again direct to parchment or using the mix mats to pick up the colour with the water brushes and apply it to our parchment. So again, different ways of doing it. And in the Clarity Matters blog, not Sunday just gone, but the Sunday previously, the lovely Glynis Whitehead, she showed us a traditional technique of what we call painting with the Perga colour exclusives. And when you look at the results that you got from that, it looked very sort of porcelain-like, and it really sort of added that delicacy to it. Good morning, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I see all these lovely names. I can't read them all. I can't look at the camera and read the name. So Jane, Ken, Barbara, Chroma. Oh, Chroma. Norfolk, I think that is, isn't it, Barbara? Yeah, it's very beautiful. That I visited there once many, many years ago, and it was beautiful. You've got beautiful beaches, and I think you've got seals and all that on the coastline. Very gorgeous, very gorgeous. So beautiful Dusseldorf in Germany. Wow, World Wild today. So how are we all doing? All over our bank holiday weekend, nice and chilled. We're gonna have a nice easy session, and we're going to have a look at what we've done over the past couple of weeks, just as a bit of a recap. So let me come in just here. So we've been using this 1, 2, 3 plate from Linda, and earlier in the year Linda was showing us with the butterfly how we could use it, how we could extend it to create a full butterfly, how we could do that beautiful shading work. And we also looked at the dragonfly plate as well. And then over the past few weeks, we've been looking at the mallow flower, and we've been doing the different colouring techniques. So the first week, we looked at using the pencils. So on the back, and it really doesn't show off, especially on the black, but if I pop a piece of white card underneath, we can really sort of see the color. Okay, now if we turn it over to the front, you can really sort of see those beautiful lines that we've just traced out from the Groovi plate. Let's see if I can come in on this camera and have a look in a little bit more detail. So this was what we was practicing on, and this was using the pergoliner pencils. We use the B pencils, the wax-based pencils. And again, we did the different techniques of going direct onto the parchment with the pencil and blending with the oil, or using the mix mat and then blending the colors there and picking it up and applying it to the parchment. Oh, good morning, Maxine, all the way from London in Canada. Wow, very nice. So again, that was using the pencils. And then last week, we had a look at using the Color pens. Now, this was going direct onto the parchment with the pens. And we can see they're very bright, they're very bold. But then what we did was we then took the pens onto the mix mat and we used the water brushes with no water in to pick up. And I love this technique because it really does give a different look to it. So again, if I try and bring both of these in at the same time, it was the same color here, which was direct, and then just no water or anything added to it at all, but just by using the mix mat and the brush to pick it up, then it allowed you to get a different color tone. And for me, that's my preference. Wow, look at all these people. We've got lovely Nathalie in France. We've got Ellen in Norway. Ooh, welcome, welcome. I wish I could speak all these different languages, but I struggle with English at times. Anyway, good morning, everybody, or afternoon or evening. So that's what we looked at over the last couple of weeks. And you can see there's not much difference in the color tones. And when we was using the pencils to do this one here, I was using the B5 and the B14. Okay, so that gave us those two colors. We can see there. I'll come in a little bit closer, I think. Let me just stop that rolling off. So just bear with me while I zoom in a little bit. There we go. See if I don't want to go too fast and make you all seasick. There we go. Wow, that's really close. Okay, so if I just push that forward a bit now. So these were the two pencils we used here. So if you want to have a look at that one, that was episode 25. And you can catch up on all of our episodes on our YouTube page. Then for the pens, what we used here were number 10 and number 9. Okay, so very sort of similar color tones to get a very similar effect. And I just used a light and a dark. Oops, I just used a light and a dark color to get those tones in. And you can see how we've gone in and just added a little bit of depth to it. So it's all about just picking up. And I mean, I've learnt my coloring from watching Barb and Linda and sort of the experts. And I'm happy with the result. With the pencils, if you're new to colouring, then for me, the pencils are a really good choice to get started with. Because as you know, or may not know, if you take an eraser pencil, you can rub it all out and start again. With the pens, once it's down, it is down. So you do have to be careful that you stay within the lines. So if you're thinking, oh, I want to give colouring a go, then my recommendation is the pencils first, because it's more of a safety net for your colouring. And then when you get confident using the pencils, you may want to jump over to the pens. Okay, so just a bit of a recap on what we looked at last week. Let me just take, where's my scissors gone? I just want to try and get that third one in, just to show the contrast of going direct. So I'm just going to chop this in half just so we can have a look. So we can see all three different options. So we've got the pencil, we've got the pen. So this is using the mix mat. And what is a mix mat? If you're new, then we do one, it comes in a pair of two. You get one that you can mix oil on and one that you can mix water on. So these were the pens where I was blending on here, and I've cleaned my oil one where I would use my, oh, look at that little heart. That's a sneaky peek of something that's coming up. Whoops. And then this is where you would use your Dorso oil. So they're great for sort of, you can use your ink pads as well. You can squidge those out on there and pick up your colour as well. So this was the pencils. This was the pens. And then this was the pens. Let me just push that in a little bit. And then this was the pens direct onto the parchment. So a lot more solid in colour. Okay. So again, always practice on a piece of scrap parchment. I mean, that's what we've been doing the last couple of weeks. We've just been playing with a piece of parchment and just sort of going back and revisiting the various skills that we've covered since we started Groovy Tuesday earlier in the year. Okay. Okay, question from Karen. What is the mat called with the cutout holes? Not sure what you mean by that, Karen. Do you mean the plate mate? Maybe if I missed your response popping up, I'm sure Gilly or someone in the design team may be able to answer that. I'm not sure what you mean by that. But we'll see if we can find an answer. If you can give us a little bit more information, then I'm sure we can come up with an answer. Okay, right. So that's what we've done over the last couple of weeks. We can go back and watch all of those on our YouTube page. Okay. Do you mean the Groovi guard? Good question. Do you mean this? Let me take this out of the way. Do you mean this? We're going to be using this today. There we go. Is that what you're after, Karen? Maybe? Really useful piece of equipment. Look, all these lovely ladies and Ken are answering of what they think that you're asking about. Okay, so we're going to do some Pico cutting. Let me zoom out a little bit. Who's got the hang of Pico cutting? Who's happy with their Pico cutting? For me, it took me about 6 months to learn. And I initially learned I initially watched the YouTube video. I remember when we first started Groovy and Barb and I were watching it. This was before we even owned Pergamano. And we was watching a tutorial on how to do it. And there's all different ways in which you can hold your scissors or your snips. And there's no rules to say you've got to do it this way, you've got to do it that way. And it's what you feel comfortable with. So let's have a look at the 3 different tools that we're talking about. So we've got 3 different options. We've got our Pergamano exclusive, which is Barb's favorites. We have our ring lock scissors, and then what I call our squizzers. These are our Perga cutters. Okay, and you can see it's like a tweezer action. Okay, and for me personally, I tend to jump between the ring lock scissors and the Perga cutters, only because they're more comfortable for me to hold. Because I've got larger fingers, I can use these, but after a while it feels a little bit uncomfortable. Okay, so I go with the ring lock because there's a larger aperture in the handle and my hand feels more comfortable. If I'm doing a lot like the lovely Josie does, then I would use my squizzers, because all it is just a squeeze. So all you're doing is pushing together. So in a way, it's the same sort of technique with the scissors, because you're still doing that, but you're physically opening the scissors to close them. Whereas with the Perga cutters, they sort of spring back. Okay. So where should we start? Let's do something really simple. So what we're going to need our scissors of choice. Okay, so we're going to need those. And we're going to do a couple of different things. We're going to use our basic grids. So we've got the straight grid and the diagonal grid. And just to keep it simple, we're going to go with the straight grid. And you can probably see, or maybe not. Let's see if I can come in on this. You can see that. See how this one here is offset. And what that does is it gives you a different pattern. Okay. But if you're getting started for everyday sort of perforating and Pico cutting, then the square one, or the square one, they're both square, the straight one is a good one to get started with. Okay. So we're going to need the straight basic grid. We're going to need our plate mate to hold it in place. So again, if you've got the mini starter kit, we do these in little A6 square ones as well. Okay. So our plate mate, whether it's the large one or the smaller one, our basic grid, then I'm going to go with my 12 by 12 super foam. So we've got black, and we've got white. Now, if I'm using the light panel, that's where the white comes into play because the illumination still comes through. But just to keep it nice and simple, I'm going to go with the black. Okay. And then we need our nested square. Now, I didn't get it out of my folder. So let's go to my folder and get out my nested square. I know it's in here somewhere. There we go. Because what we need is a straight line to start from. Okay. We're going to need a piece of parchment. We're going to need our Groovi tabs. Grab a couple of Groovi tabs. Tumble dry sheet. Our number 1 tool. What else? Groovi guard. Really key when we come to perforate. And then we've got choices of going with, to keep it simple, we'll go with the 1 needle bold tool. Okay, so on the end, let's come in on this one. What I've got here in my hand, you see that you've got the different nibs, the different designs on the end. So the larger one is the 1 needle bold. Then you've got the 1 needle fine. You've then got the 2 needle fine, and then you've got the 2 needle bold. So for the purpose, excuse me, of today, I'm going to be sticking with the 1 needle bold and the 2 needle bold. But I will show you later on the difference in the size of the holes. Okay. So we're going to need those. What else are we going to need? I reckon what we'll do, we'll have a play with this. We'll go freestyle and we'll do some maybe around the outside of a circle. So we'll have that a bit later. So give you a chance to get all the bits together, ready for this morning's session. So we've got a busy week ahead of us here at Groovi headquarters. So Barb's back on Thursday with the Shack at 10 o'clock. Those beautiful baubles that you were illustrating last week. And then on Friday, we kick off our birthday celebrations on the craft store. So it's all systems go for that. I think Barb sort of gave you a bit of a tease in the blog. Was it yesterday or the day? No, it was the day before, I think, Sunday's blog. Losing track of days with the bank holiday. Okay. Are we all good to go? I think we are. Okay. So to start off with, what we're going to be doing is we're going to do a straight line of perforations. And in order to do that, the nested square is a great way of just getting a straight line so that we can work along. So I'm going to attach my parchment to my plate mate. Okay. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go through the different scissors just to show how it works. Okay, we're going to wipe over with our tumble dry sheet, because all we need is just a straight line as our guide. So let's do this one here. So I'm just going to trace out a nice crisp white straight line. So when we're doing our embossing work or our tracing out of our design, we always work on the back. But when we come to perforate, we have to work from the front of our parchment. So if you're not sure, I mean, it doesn't matter for this because we're just practicing. You could put B for back or F for front, so you know what side you're working on. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to swap that out and we're going to replace it with the straight grid. Okay. And then I need to turn this over. And what I'm going to do is line it up against, I'm actually putting, let's see if I can come in close. I'm actually putting the line on a line of the dots. And I find it easier, rather than try and find it, go in the middle, I find it's easier if I go to the edge of the plate. Okay, I'm going to zoom in a moment. We'll just get this into place. Okay, so let me zoom in on the overhead for you so we can really go in. So let me see, in, come in slowly. Woo. Right, hopefully that will stay within focus. Let me zoom out a little bit more. And what I'm going to do, I'm also going to bring this camera in. Oh, actually, I think that might be, let me see if I can bring that one in a little bit closer as well. So let me come around here and we'll bring that one in. I'll reposition that in a moment. And it also gives me the opportunity to find where I put my glasses, which I've just found. Oh dear, oh dear. Okay. Are we all good to go? I think we are. Okay, Groovi guard. What I'm doing now is, let's position that, let's go this way. So I'm positioning in that underneath my line because I want to perforate on the line round here. And to do that, I'm just going to use the #1 bold tool. Okay, and I'm going to hold the tool upright and I'm just going to perforate. Now, can you see how the parchment is jumping? If I go over like this and use one of the small windows, then what it does is it, see the difference where it doesn't jump? And I'm deep perforating. When I say deep perforate, I'm probably going about 3/4 of the way down the shaft of the needle. And by keeping the tool upright, the grid forces you to make a perfect perforation. Okay. Now, if I was doing this freestyle with a paper pattern, for me, my inclination is to hold it at an angle. So therefore you wouldn't get a nice clean perforated hole. So we're just going to go along and just see, this is quite therapeutic, but it's a good way of practicing and also for warming up before you go into your work. Okay, see, I'm getting carried away now. And then you can go along. Okay, so I've got my row of perforations. So if I hold that up, there we go. We can see that. So it's not right on the line, it's just a little bit away. Okay. So now comes the Pico cutting. So I'm going to remove my Groovi tabs. I can get rid of all of this stuff here. And what we're doing, we're going to cut away this area here is the waste. Okay, so my artwork or my design would be in this area, which I'd cover up with my Groovi guard. Okay, let's have a sip of coffee. So when it comes to the different scissors, let me come on to the overhead. Okay, so we've got the 3 different types of scissors. Let's do one at a time. So we've got the exclusive scissors. Okay, so these are the cheaper option if you're new to it and you think, well, you want to give it a go. It's a good set of it's a good pair of scissors to get started with, and this is what Barbara uses all the time. Now, when we look at the actual scissors, you'll see that it has a curve, and that curve is really important when we come to do the Pico cutting. Now, when we look at them in this position, this is what we call the spoon position, okay, because it's got the point going upwards. But if we go that way, we call it the fork position. Okay, so again, with it point going down. Now, some people will Pico cut with the point going down, and that's the way that I first started, was with the point going down. But some people will go with the point going up, which is the way that I find more comfortable now. When it comes to holding the scissors, traditionally, you would have put your 2 fingers through the top, okay? But for me, I find it more comfortable by taking my thumb and my finger and coming in underneath. Because it's like playing, let me come on to this, it's like playing the recorder. Not that I ever played the recorder, but that's what it reminds me of, is you're holding the recorder and these fingers are your musical notes. But it gives you the balance on the hand, okay? And what we're going to do is, again, some people prefer to hold it in their hand when they're cutting, and some people prefer the mat. For me personally, I prefer to work in the mat. And I'm going to hold this at an angle that I feel more comfortable for. More comfortable at. Okay, so let's see if I can come in over here. And what you're going to do is you're going to take, I'm going to put my glasses on for this. Okay. Getting old and the eyes, ouch. Sorry. I just pinched my finger in the hinge of my glasses. Oh dear. You said parchment craft was a safe craft. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to pop the tips of the scissors in, and it really is just the tip of those scissors. If you go in too far, as you push, what it's doing is it's going to, the blade on the inside of the scissors is actually going to cut the parchment. And we don't want to cut, we want to snip. Okay, so just the tip of the scissors in, and then you just squeeze. And as you squeeze, you'll see the parchment go to a point and you snip. So you go in. So you may find it's easier to go upright and then bring it down so your hand rests. And then you squeeze and you snip. Now, some people will tilt towards them. Some people will tilt away from them. Some people will start from the top and work down. And some people will start from the bottom and work up. You'll find over a period of time what your preference is. So we can try the different techniques. So I'm going to go in, bring it down, squeeze, and snip. In, bring it down, squeeze, and snip. I don't know if you can hear that sort of clicking sound of, it's very satisfying to get that little sound. Okay, and then you'll feel all of a sudden you'll go along and you know exactly how far to open your scissors. Okay, And then you automatically then get that little spacing between the two. Okay, so let me cut away this part here. And then we can have a look, see what we've done. Now, I haven't done any practice or any warm-up. This is direct, straight. Okay, so I'm happy with that. Because, I mean, when you're looking at it, you're not going to be looking at it and like with a magnifying glass, you're not going to be going, missed a bit there, that one's a bit crooked. It's the overall effect that you're going to get. Okay, so that was using, so let's put a little E next to there. So that was the exclusive scissors. Okay, now I'm going to go to my ring lock, and it's the same as before. I come in from underneath and I'm using the spoon position. Okay, so again we're going to go, and my hand is resting. See, and because these are more comfortable for me, I can go that little bit faster. And we're not saying it's a race. Let me just put a little line just along there so we can see the difference. So it's the same process. The tips go in, so you can hold it upright, bring the scissors down, and then snip. Now I just automatically, with my ring lock, you'll notice I'm just tilting to the left a little bit. Okay. And it's the same as before. If you go in too far, then the blade is going to cut the parchment. Then you get that lovely, satisfying little snipping sound. Okay, so we're going to put a little line there, and that will be for my ring lock. So let's cut this away, and we can have a look there. Okay, so let's have a look. There we go, there we go. So you can see, maybe, if I come in a little bit closer, whee, there we go. So you can see we're starting to get that little pointed V along the top. Okay, so let's have a look at the Pico cutters. Again, I'm going to hold mine in the spoon position so that the curve goes up. All of the 3 different types of scissors all have curves. Okay, so sometimes I find it's easier if I use the spoon position, and sometimes I find it easier on using it in the fork position. Okay, so again, if you've got the Pico cutters and you're not getting a nice result, or you're not happy with it, then try turning the scissors over to see if you get a different result from a different way. So if I pop down and I go in there, so I'm going to go in and then I'm going to squeeze. And then what you don't want to do is when you snip, you need to pull the snips out. If you snip and release, what it's going to do, it's going to knock each hole into one another. See, I'm not getting a good result. I can see that straight away. That's better. That was rubbish. And that was terrible. So let's try it using the fork position. So we're going to go in. There we go. We're going to go in. Oh, see, some days it's good days, some days it's bad days. That's why I always practice first. Okay, so I'm getting a better result by using it in the fork position. he says, famous last words. And you'll notice that I'm going slightly slower. I mean, it's not a race. It's all about taking your time. Okay. So I know at the beginning, this is going to look as if I've just torn the piece of parchment. The rest of it may not look. So let's do P for pergo cutters. So let's just snip off that part there. Now I know we've had a couple of questions about using the 2-needle split. Now I've spoken to I haven't personally used a 2-needle split, and I didn't want to, until I see somebody use it, I don't want to just have a go and say, oh, this is what you do and this is what you get. So I spoke to, I emailed Linda this morning, and when the Pergamano school starts back on the 14th of September, she's going to do a very quick introduction to the 2-needle split and show us how it works. And then if she's showing us how it works, then I'll know how to use it in the future. So, so don't worry, it will be covered, but I just don't feel confident to show you because it's not a tool that I've actually used. Okay. So let's go back and have a look at what we've got here. So look, you can see as I was warming up, that's terrible. But then when I turned it into the fork position, I was getting the Pico cutting. Okay. So again, if you're fortunate enough that you've got the 3 different types of scissors, you may find today, for example, you get a better result with the exclusive scissors. And then in an hour's time, you may go back to it and it looks as if you've just chewed it, like that one there. So what I'm saying is, when it's a skill, it really is a skill to get the Pico cutting to be happy with. And it took me 6 months. I mean, that wasn't 6 months of constant Pico cutting, but it was many, many hours. And I've been on workshops where I've shown people how I do it and how to hold the tools and how about the perforations. And some people get it like that. And you think, really? Just like that? They've done it before, but they haven't. So some people get it straight away, and some people it will take a little bit longer. But don't be disheartened by it. It's all about, like anything, the more you practice, hopefully the easier it will become, and then you'll get that beautiful result. There's no exams to say each one has got to be exactly perfect, and it's the overall effect that you're going to get. And for me, what I found was the easiest way of learning my Pico cutting was, rather than go on a straight line like we have here, which is very unforgiving to the eye, because any slight imperfection, your eye will automatically be drawn to that imperfection. Okay. So for me, the way I built up my confidence and how I perfected my Pico cutting was to do the little crosses. Okay, so we've covered the little crosses in previous hours, but we'll just have a little bit of a recap on those. So, okay, I'm just going a mouthful of coffee. Can't believe where this time disappears to. Really don't. I say to Julie, say to Julie, right, this is what I'm going to cover in this hour, and I'm going to do this, this, and this. And she goes, okay, I'm going to use this tool, and I'm going to use that tool, and I'm going to do blah, blah, blah. And she goes, okay. And then next thing I know, time's gone, and you think, what happened there? Okay, so I'm going to attach my parchment. I'm using the bold grid again. Again, if you're new to Pico cutting, then the bold needle is a lot easier to learn from because it is a bigger perforation. So I'm going to go back to my 1-needle tool, and I'm going to create a series of 4 perforations in a square. Okay. So these are very very achievable. So we'll just do, again, I get carried away, see. Right, stop. The last one. Okay, so I've got my row of 4 perforations to make a square. Now you can use the 4 needle tool to do that, freestyle, onto, as Linda's shown us over the past couple of weeks in the summer school. But for practicing the grid, it really does, because if you look, let me show you something. If I take my parchment there and I try and create 4 holes, I've created a square of sorts, but the pitch in between each of the perforations isn't equal. So therefore I'm not going to get a good cross. Now I could take the 2 needle tool and I could make thing. That's not bad, but we can definitely see the difference between these perfect squares here and that one there. Okay. So again, when we're doing little crosses to practice on, it's the bit in the middle that is going to fall away. There we go. So we can get that. So it's a little bit in the middle that's going to fall away. So I'm going to take my ring lock scissors. So I'm going over the waist. So the point of my scissors is going into the holes furthest away from the handle. Let me get rid of these Groovi tabs. Okay, so I'm going to hold it so it's more comfortable for me to do. So I'm going to pop the tips, glasses. There we go. So I'm going to pop the tips of the scissors into there, and then I'm going to snip. And I'm going to go along. That was rubbish. Let's just do these 4. Okay. Then I'm going to turn my parchment. And again, I'm going to the 2 holes furthest away from the handle. So I'm holding the scissors over the waist. We're going to turn it around again. Again, the 2 points furthest away, so I'm hiding the 2 that are underneath. And we're going to go along. And then we've got the final side of the square, so we're going to turn that round. Again, furthest point away. And we just snip. I'm not twisting. I'm just literally. So there we go. So I've got my little crosses. Okay. Some of them are better than others. But again, to get that overall effect, let's see if I can come along. There we go. We can see that one. So to get the overall effect, which is what we're after, it's a good way of practicing with the Pico cutting, because if you were to, let me show you the difference. If I was to, glasses again, if I was to cut, let's do it on this one. If I cut to the 2 holes nearest there, I'm going to turn it around. So I'm doing it on the nearest ones now, rather than the ones that are further away. Can you see the difference? Let me see if I can bring it up a little bit. You can really see. It looks like a cross, but it's very fuzzy. And that's because this is the waist area. It's the back part of the scissors. So you may think, oh, I'm getting a sort of a cross, but when you do look at it, the fibers of the parchment are still there. Okay. So again, it's all about getting comfortable with the position of your scissors. When I first started, I used to hold it in my hand. And what that did, it gave me a guide on how far to push the scissors into. Because obviously if you go in too far, you'll go, ouch. But again, it was a good way of me learning how far those tips needed to go in. So I can still do it this way, but my preference is doing it flat. There we go. So we've now got the rest of that row of squares. Okay. Whew. How are we doing for time? Wow, 1:45 already. See, I told you. It really, you plan these things, but you know what? It takes as long as it takes. And hopefully, if I've explained that well enough, then you can watch this back again and again and again. You can stop it, pause it, fast forward it. Some people say hold it in the spoon position. Some will hold it in the fork position. They'll come in on the top or they'll come in underneath. Find what is more comfortable for you. What doesn't put any pressure on your wrist. For me, resting on the mat and working on my piece makes a difference for me. Okay. Now, if I'm doing a lot of Pico cutting at home, then to make it even easier, I would use the white super foam and I'd have the light panel underneath. And it's not to make me see the holes more easily, but it just gives me that extra added part. Oh, it gives me illumination from underneath. Okay, so we've had a look at doing a straight line. Bring that over. Let's get rid of these little bits. They're distracting me. So we've had a look at doing a straight line, and we've looked at the 3 different types of scissors. So we used the exclusives, I used the ring lock, and then I used the Pico cutters. Okay, so again, if you're starting out, then the exclusive is a really nice pair of scissors, and they have to be pointed and curved as well in order to get that effect. Years ago when I used to do decoupage, I had a pair of squizzers, but they weren't curved. And I've seen some people say, well, I've got these. And it does make a difference, just that little curve on the end, because what you're doing is let me come in on this camera. The point goes in. Let me see if I can get this way. So you're going in, and when you bring your hand down, that curve sort of lifts the parchment up. Okay. And what it does, it makes it more easier, I think, to get that little point because it's lifting it away from the surface. And again, if you're doing it on the downward, it still lifts the parchment up slightly. Okay. So have a go with that. As I say, some people will get it instantly, some people, but don't give up. Don't think, oh, I can't do it. You really can, honestly, because once you've got it, and I'm not saying every single Pico is going to be exactly perfect. It doesn't matter. It is the overall effect that you're going to get, especially if you're cutting out. Let's have a look, for example. Let's do a little bit on this. Where's that coloured one? Okay, let's have a look at this one. So say, for example, I wanted to perforate the inside of the petal, or I want to perforate around this part and leave the flower intact, but by putting colour paper behind, it creates a window. Okay, so if I take my 2-needle tool, this is where it becomes freestyle. Okay, now before I do that, I'm just going to show. Wrong camera, camera 3. I wanted to show you the difference in the size of the perforations between the one needle and the one needle fine. So if I perforate with the one needle bold, and then I perforate with the one needle fine, well, you can't even see that on there. Let me see if I can bring it into that camera. Can you see the difference? So the one over this side is the fine, and the one over this side is the bold. So there is a difference, and as your confidence grows, then you'll use the 2 needle or the 1 needle fine, and you'll get a tidier Pico cut. But you know what? For me personally, I still go with the bold because it makes it easy to get the tips of the scissors in, and I still get the effect of the Pico. So let's have a look at doing some freestyling Pico cutting or perforating. So I'm going to go with the 2 needle bold. Let's have a look. This is my practice piece, so I'm not worried about it. I'm going to take my Groovi guard, and what we'll do, we'll just do the inside of this petal. Okay, so I'm going to use my Groovi guard to focus the area. I'm going to hold the tool upright, and I'm going to perforate. So I'm going to perforate inside this line because I want to cut out the inside. And then what you do is you go back into glasses, where they gone? Let me see, I want to come this way a little bit. So I'm going to go, one of the needles will go back into the hole, and you're just going to increase by 1 perforation at a time. And what that does is it gives you that perfect pitch between each of your perforations. Now I'm going to turn my work. I'll just move these scissors out of the way because I'm happy with the position of the tool that I'm using. And I'm holding it upright. So you just go along and you increase by 1 at a time. So I'm going to turn it so my hand is comfortable. And you're going to go, just follow the inside of the white line. Turn it again. And you're just going to go along. You can see that okay? Yeah. Oh, where am I going? This way. Left a bit, right a bit. I can't hear you shouting if I've gone out of shot. I think I'm okay. See, and then you're going to go along. And then you just go a little bit wonky there. And then, depending on the space, you'll create that perfect position on there. Now, if, for example, when I come to do the last part, the gap was too big, then I could take the 1 needle tool and introduce a single perforation just to bridge that gap. Okay, so I'm going to use my ring lock scissors again. So again, the blade of my scissors is over the waist area. Okay, what I don't want to be doing is putting the scissors over the white line because then it's in the wrong position. I'm going to use this finger to rest, well, not rest, but just balance the scissors on. And then I twist slightly towards me. I'm turning my work so it's comfortable. My hand that is holding the scissors isn't really moving. I'm only twisting my wrist in the direction of the scissors, but it's not physically moving off the mat because I'm moving my work. Okay. And it's just a case of going along and you turn it. Going to go around the corner. Again, this is going to be very forgiving if there are any imperfections, because although we're up against a straight line, or we're up against a white line, it's not a straight line. Okay, so we're going to go along, and you'll see that I'm moving my parchment every single time I go around a corner or a different direction. Okay, and it's all about, and if like there I turned the parchment too much, I don't want to then get my hands uncomfortable, so I'm going to turn the work back so that it works for me. Okay. And now I've got my Pico cut aperture. Okay. So again, this was the bit that we've been practicing on over the last couple of weeks. It's a scrap, but keep it and say to yourself, so if, for example, your Pico cutting was a little bit odd when you first started, then you can say, well, maybe I should do a little warm-up exercise first, because I always do that before I go in, and it's surprising what a difference it can make. Linda has been saying in the past, when we do the beautiful shading work, she never goes on cold to do that type of work. She will always practice on a scrap piece first. It's just to get the movement of the hand in place. And once you get that movement in place, then I suppose they say if you go to a gym, you're meant to warm up. What's a gym? But it's all about doing that. And I suppose if you warm up first, then you're in the zone. Your hand has got used to that movement. I mean, apart from picking a cup of coffee up, that's probably the only similar type of movement that I could say it's like. So, but have a play, and if you don't get it right first time, don't throw it in the bin and say, oh, I can't do it. Pop it to one side, go for a walk around the living room, or walk out, go and look out the window, come back, sit down and try it again. Okay. And I really am sure that it's hard to explain. You're only putting pressure on yourself, and there's no need to, because there's nobody. I'm not going to come round to everybody's house and say, that one's wrong, that one's wrong. What's the point of that? I do it the way that I do it. Linda does it the way that she does it. Barbara does it the way that she does it. And we all get the same result. And I'm sure if you was to zoom in with a magnifying glass and look at all those Pico cuttings, I'm sure there'll be the odd one that's not as pointed as the rest of them are. But we're not doing that. We're looking for the overall effect that it gives us and the enjoyment of being able to achieve something like that. So really, give it a go. Go on to Groovi Worldwide if you're not sure, and show it off and say, right, this is what I've done. I've used these scissors. I've done it this way. And there'll be people there, like from the design team, to say, you know what, try doing it this way, or just go back and watch the video. Hopefully I've explained it well enough and we've got the camera in close enough that you can really see the detail. I know it sounds as if I'm a bit preachy, but I've been on workshops where I've shown people and they say, I can't do it. I can't do it. And I understand that in a workshop environment, because you're thinking, well, they can do it, so it must be me. It really isn't. And if you're at home and you're doing it, there's no one sitting on you, there's no Pico inspectors sitting on your shoulder saying, oh, you've gone wrong, oh, you've gone wrong. It really isn't. It's all about enjoying it. And sometimes we do get worked up and thinking, oh, it's got to be perfect. It's what is perfect? In your eyes, something may be perfect. In somebody else's eyes, it may not be. But at the end of the day, we can't change that, can we? So it really is about enjoying it and experimenting. And it's a piece of parchment, maybe a couple of hours. Try the row, a straight line, practice on that first. If you're not getting it and you're not happy, try the crosses. It really does make a difference. So before I go, just a couple of things. I've got my list in front of me. Well, let me have a look. Where's my, there it is, it's over there. Right, okay. So we've done some Pico cutting. We've gone back to basics. We've done Pico cutting. We've done some colouring. Next week, I thought it'd be really nice to show you how you can attach your parchment to your card. Whether we'll use brads, we'll use corner punches, we'll use wrapping around the card, we'll use dies as an aperture. Wink, wink, nudge, 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 nudge. I'm not saying anything about what's coming up. I'll get shot. I'll get into trouble if I say too much. But last week, these have been so popular. The goods. Be good, do good, feel good. Oh, look, you can't see them. Oh, be good, do good, feel good. And then let me zoom out a bit. So Barbara launched these last week in the shack. Which one am I going? I'm going that way. There we go. So we've got the Groovi plate with the lovely little Nordic gnomes that many of you illustrated during the shack sessions. And then you've got Live Good. That's got Christmas, Noel, peace, and it's got more on there as well. So we've got those available on the website. But I think looking at the orders, most of you have already got them or ordered them. Okay. And then if you're not into your Groovi, if you're also into your stamping, okay, then you've also got the stamp version as well. So you buy that one and you get that one free, but you have to make sure that you buy the bundle on the website like that. Okay, so and basically that's free. That's the saving on that one. On this one you got about £3 I think it is saving on that, so you're nearly getting that for free. But just check out the website and say we're getting that. Brother Steve's been making these like crazy, so we'll get those out to you as soon as we can. Okay. So we've got that. I've said about the 2-needle split that Linda's going to cover when the Pergamano school restarts, which is on Tuesday, the 14th of September. So I hope you've been practicing what Linda's shown us in the past. You've got me for one more week on my own. And I say we'll do some finishing tricks, how to attach it, embroidery, stitching. Stitching was the traditional way of attaching it back in the day. So we'll have a look at a few different ways of doing it. Some ways you may think, oh yeah, that's a good idea. Oh, never thought about that. And we'll cover that. What else have we got on my list? Recap, blah, 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 blah. And I will be back in the room with you on Thursday. Barb's back with the Shack at 10 o'clock. And I think you'll be inking up those beautiful baubles that you were illustrating last week. So so until then, I'll be in the room with Barb, not physically, online, helping it out for any questions on Thursday. And then Thursday afternoon, evening, Barb and I are heading up to the TV for our birthday celebrations on the craft store. And I will be back with Groovy Tuesday next Tuesday. So enjoy the rest of your week. And I hope it's helped. If you've been struggling with your Pico cutting, I really hope that it's helped, because once you get it, you get it. And all of a sudden, it's just like that little light switch just flicks on and you go, done it. And then you may think, oh, I've forgotten how I did it. But you will get it, honestly. And so I hope you've enjoyed that. Thank you to the lovely Jilly, who's been answering. I've seen all the questions popping up. And I'm off to start prepping for the celebrations coming up this weekend. So enjoy the rest of your week and take care, and I will see you again next week. Bye bye. And where's the mouse gone? There it is. Bye.